Hi, my name is Josie, and I've been watching BookTube for a bit now, and I just decided that maybe I wanted to make my own channel because I read a lot, a lot, and I figured that who better to talk about books than with other people that love books. So I wanted to do my first video to kind of show you guys what my favorite books are. Favorite books of all time, I should say, because my favorite books kind of change often, but these are my all-time favorite books from childhood on. So there's actually a lot of them are children's books, but it's fine, whatever. You get it. So let's start with this is a very beat up copy. This is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This book is so wonderful. I feel like it really introduced me to what a truly great character development was. Like, I absolutely love Atticus, and I love Scout, and I love Boo. It's just, the story is great. It's my copy from when I was in the 9th grade, I think. So it's pretty old and beat up, and I recently bought another copy just for my bookshelf. But it's just wonderful, wonderful. My next favorite book is actually the book that made me fall in love with reading. And my tastes have since matured a little bit, but I still consider this one of my all-time favorite books just because it's Pride and Prejudice. And basically, I just fell in love with Lizzie. I felt like I identified so much with Lizzie, even though my family wasn't like that. She was just she's just such an awesome heroine. Like, she's such a great main character, and she's a spitfire, and she's her own person, and I just absolutely have always loved her because of that. And I've always loved Jane Austen because of that, because I feel like she writes such great female characters, and the stories are just, I love them. And on a side note, I collect Jane Austen books, so I have several copies of Pride and Prejudice, and this is one of my favorites just because, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I just think it's such a beautiful bind up of it. Very simple and elegant. My next favorite, which I feel like this was the progression from Pride and Prejudice, and it's Jane Eyre. This is still one of my favorites. I read this once a year at least. I've seen every single version of the movie. I love it. It's so dark and gothic and romantic, and even though a lot of people don't think Mr. Rochester is a true hero because it is kind of a twisted story in a sense, I love him. God, I love him. And this printing of it is just beautiful. It has Jane as a child in the back, and then in the front when she's leaving Thornfield, which I love it. This one, I've actually never read this exact copy of this, but this is another one of those books from my childhood that I just introduced me to a love for reading, and that's The Secret Garden. I actually think the first time I heard anything about this story was the movie. I watched the movie when I was, I don't know, 4th or 5th grade, and it was such a magical world that I wanted to pick up the book and read it, which is, I gotta say, that's very rare for me. I am not a huge fan of book to movie adaptations. I think if you haven't read the book, they can be a great thing, but if you've read the book, in a lot of cases, you just have to settle for whatever crap they put together. But to me, this is one of those stories that the movie is excellent, and the book is just wonderful. It's such a magical book for a kid to read, I think. This is the #1 all-time top favorite book, and it is 100% because I thought that I was her as a child. I really, absolutely, completely identified with Matilda as a child, and I still, honestly, identify with Matilda as an adult. I read more than anybody that I know, and I'm not criticized in a bad way, but constantly getting comments about, don't you want to do something other than read? And I do. I work. I am a fully functioning adult. But reading is just, it's my passion. It's always been my passion. It will continue to be my passion. I hope eventually when I choose to have kids, it becomes their passion. But this character just made me just realize how awesome it is to be a reader, and she's such a wonderful character. I love Roald Dahl's worlds. They're so dark and just different, and the kids they're not always great. I mean, even Matilda's not always so great. I wouldn't say she's necessarily the perfect role model, always, pulling pranks and doing things to her family, but it's just, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, I aspired to be Matilda. And no, my parents were not as horrible as hers, but they did completely embrace my love of reading. It's just, I loved Matilda, and I will be reading this to my children when I took them in at night. And lastly, this one I think is everybody's favorite. And this is a series, so I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about, and that is Harry Potter. This is my special Harry Potter bookmark, don't mind it. But I read this series a lot older than I think other people read it, because I am a bit older, and I became obsessed with it. I did not read this when it first came out. I dragged my feet for a while, because it was a children's series. Not that that should really make much of a difference to me, considering how much I adore children's literature, but I really wanted to wait it out, I guess. I have this pet peeve that I don't like reading series until they're done, and I caved. I think I caved right after book 3 came out, and then I had to wait right along with everybody else. And I am an extremely fast reader, so I read these books, or I read these books within a matter of hours after they were released, and then I just had to sit and wait for everybody else that I knew that was reading Harry Potter to catch up, and I was stewing in the stories. Like, I just did not know if I would be able to survive without discussing these books with somebody. And that hadn't happened to me in a very long time with a book. I love books, but it's very rare for a story to hit me in a way that I just have to talk about it with somebody right away. And Harry Potter did that to me with every single book that came out. And it's something that I love. I mean, I would go to midnight releases with my friends. I don't know if you can see on the shelves, but I actually collect Harry Potters. I have them in some different languages, because when I've traveled, I pick them up in different languages, and I have the full British printing right here and the full American printing right here. So Harry Potter's just one of those books. And recently, one of my friend's kids has gotten to an age that he's ready to read Harry Potter, and it is just incredibly exciting to me that I get to introduce it to him, and it's just such a thrill. I mean, and I'm sure it will be when I have kids too. That was a random sampling of some of my favorite books. I do read, generally I read young adult. I'm actually the young adult book examiner for Miami, so that's pretty much the biggest genre that I read. I also read a little bit of new adult. I read some fantasy and some science fiction. I love classics, although I don't read them as much as I should. And I read a little bit of lady porn or romance novels, whichever way you would like to call it. I choose to call it lady porn, because those are really quick reads for me. Because I'm a fast reader, I can read a couple in a weekend, and the more books I read, the happier that I am. So I do pick those up from time to time. But like I said, I tend to read a lot of YA. I have gotten recently really into middle grade books. So that's something that I'm rediscovering. So if any of these are your favorites, please let me know, or let me know if, for instance, you love Roald Dahl, but Matilda is not your thing. I would love to hear from you about that. So that's it. Bye.